And now joining us live to tell us more is Alison Mutler, former AP Bureau Chief. Do you believe that Keir Starmer is essentially now heading into future elections of his in the UK is essentially trying to erase any negativity or any sort of threat to his power? What are your thoughts, ma'am?
First of all, as you can probably tell, I am British, so I do follow British politics quite closely. And this is a British political story. And we're just talking about the appointment of an ambassador and whether he was fit and whether the government, in fact, knew he was fit and that he wasn't fit and went ahead with it. What obviously makes it much more complicated is it is connected to Jeffrey Epstein, and the former ambassador Peter Mandelson's connections to him. Obviously, that does give make it much more sort of, if you like, a juicy story. The thing is, Keir Starmer, the day he came into power, has been incredibly unpopular with the British media. I'm not sure the British public, that depends, both with the left-wing media because they don't think he's left-wing enough, and the right-wing media, they dislike him because he's a Labour, and they say he's not very charismatic, which he's not, and they say he's boring, etc., etc. So he's very used for everyone, if you like, baying for his blood. Now, did he know about this or not? It's possible he didn't know, but that is also a problem because it's not a problem, you know, if the police catch you, you say, but I didn't know the law. The problem is that you didn't know the law and you should have. And that's the same with Keir Starmer. He may well have not known that Peter Mandelson, a body, had said that he had been vetted, he was not suitable for the position of ambassador, but is not a good enough excuse to say, I didn't know. But that said, you could say about Keir Starmer, he's a bit of a Teflon man. For him, it's almost been every month. It's like he's about to go. There's editorials everywhere. He should take a big glass of wine and consider his resignation. I've been reading that for weeks, if not months. But it does seem to have reached a point where he could be pushed because, you know, Britain is a parliamentary democracy. It's one of the world's oldest democracies. And, you know, saying I didn't know that he wasn't suitable is not really a good enough reason. It's not a good enough reason for me to give the police if I did something wrong, and certainly not a good enough reason for the British Prime Minister. So it may be a scandal too far. But that said, who would replace him? Labour does have a comfortable majority in the Parliament, and they are not obliged to call elections yet. And it's unclear whether there is anybody really sitting in the wings. We've heard that he has got rid of people who could have contested his position. So it does look more like he might go than any time up until now. But it's still not a certainty. He's like Teflon Keir. I mean, the amount of hostile press coverage and attacks on him he's had to endure have been quite incredible. And you do talk about the relationship with the United States, which is true. Donald Trump has made some very disparaging remarks about Keir Starmer. He's he's no Winston Churchill. Well, I mean, I'd like to think of another prime minister if we like Winston Churchill was a Winston Churchill. So that's true, but that's just a sort of disparaging remark. But also, Donald Trump hasn't got very good relations with any European leaders at the moment. With Macron, with Meloni, who he was used to be friends with. Certainly not with Spain, which denied him the access to airfields. So I don't. And we do have the king going to Washington at the moment. So my view is he could go. We're at a moment when he could go more likely than in the past, but it's definitely not certain. And for sure, he's clinging on there. And we're not. It is uncertain because it's also a question of who would replace him.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Mutler, for joining us. Much appreciated.